Hello, everyone. Welcome to Finstruction Podcast. Here I, Akriti Bajaj, as your host, will take you through the product building journey from the lens of product managers. Today, we have Sagar Gupta as a guest speaker, who's currently leading payouts at Razorpay. He has more than 7 years of experience in product management and has worked across various companies like Jumbotail and Grabhouse. He's also known for a must have PM skill, which is converting user needs to products. Hi, Sagar. So, finally thrilled to have you on the construction podcast.
First of all, thanks, Akriti, for having me here. And it's great to connect with you. And I think what you have been doing with this podcast, I absolutely love it because generally people focus a lot on what product management is, but in order people know about what actually it takes to build a fintech company and being from a product perspective. So I think this is a very different and deeper perspective, I would say. So yeah, I think great work starting this, I would say.
Right. So,
Yeah.
today's product that we want to discuss is embedded finance. And I think everyone has actually heard about this, but nobody knows what it is. So, if you could throw some light on what embedded finance is, and I think few examples will be super helpful.
Sure. What is embedded finance? Now, think from a perspective, any embedded financial flows uh, uh, within their customer experience flows is something called embedded finance. To give an example, uh, say Flipkart wants to process refunds for the product that you have written. Now, you might have seen this earlier. It used to take like 7 to 10 days to uh, to actually process the refund.
Yeah.
What if, and again, if you think about it, right, whenever there's a return happens, there's a lot of process that goes in the background. First of all, after you have written the product, it will go to warehouse, it will go to a sanity check, if the label is there or not, if the product is in the right condition or not. Then after it has been like verified by the warehouse team, there's a file that will be sent to the finance team. Okay, these are the records you need to process. Then maybe someone will ask you to give an account or UPI ID details, which if they in case they don't have it, and
Yep.
all these processes used to take 7 to 10 days, and that's why there was a lot of delay initially. Now, if you might have seen this change with Flipkart, with these kind of companies that whenever you return the product within 1 or 2 days, you get your refund in your account, right? Now, if you actually think of it, there's actually actual money transfer happening from some account of Flipkart to the account of yours, right?
Okay.
And that happens pretty quickly as soon as the product is received at the warehouse and it gets verified. Now, how does it happen? This happens because Flipkart has actually tied up with either a financial institution or a fintech company, which is enabling this flows in the in the product of the Flipkart.
Okay.
Right. Now, to give an example, say Flipkart might reach out to Razorpay. It might say that I want to do refunds to Razorpay payouts. Here now Flipkart will integrate the APIs of Razorpay Razorpay payouts. Uh, and now as soon as there's a business logic which says कि ठीक है, once the product is verified, the refund should happen. So they know your they know the amount of the refund. If they have your account details, as soon as there's a verification process that happens, the API will get called. Now, from Flipkart's virtual account, the money will be sent to your bank account or to your UPI ID. In case they don't have your account details, they will send maybe a payout link to you on your registered mobile number. You can verify your mobile number through say OTP. You enter your details and like within few seconds, the money will be deposited to your account, right? So Flipkart is now embedding the financial flows in their logistics flows in a deeper way. So this is one example of embedded finance. Now, similarly, think of any gaming company, right? There are like thousands of customers paying to the gaming company uh, to play. Say consider Dream Level MPL, right? There's a game that happens when during every IPL match. Now, at the end of the match, like say few people or few customers will win the rewards.
Yep.
Now, as soon as the rewards are decided, money gets, customer can go to say MPS app or Dream Levels app. They can say, I want to withdraw this money into my account. They will enter their account details or UPI ID, and like within few seconds, the money will be deposited to their own bank account. Right now, all these gaming companies have also embedded deeply with the again financial flows. Right. So this is again another example. Now, again, if you think of lending, like all the paid lending apps that you see where like uh, even uh, say early salary, for example, right? Where one click of a button, you will get certain amount in your account directly. Now think of say lazy pay. Lazy pay is also ultimately lending, right? Uh, so there's a payment that is happening. Let's say, for example, you go to Swiggy, you purchase through Swiggy. There's a payment that is happening from lazy pay to the restaurant provider or to Swiggy. That is again happening in a pretty seamless and automated way.
So
Right.
you are paying later or you are lazy pays limit.
Right. So now all these are examples where non-financial companies, say Swiggy, say LazyPay, say Flipkart, have actually integrated deeply with the financial flows, right? And this is embedded finance. And again, if you think about it, ki, why are these customers even doing this? Because thinking more from a customer's perspective, customers prefer more flexibility now. Now, this flexibility can be in terms of the most they use. For example, customers might want the money to be deposited to their account either through to their UPI ID, to their bank account details, to their credit card, debit card, or to their say Paytm wallet. Now, in all these cases, customers prefer flexibility, where they should have the flexibility to choose the mode through which they would want the money to be transferred. Now, another flexibility that customers look for is the kind of timings. For example, I would not want that my refund should work only between 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Right? Say I would actually maybe ask to process my refund, or maybe say I would want to go to early salary and would want to withdraw some amount even at say 1 a.m. in the night, right? Now, if there's a manual person who can maybe who is authorizing this transaction, and then there's the actual money transfer happening from the like business's account to the customer's account, it will take time. But now with embedded flows, customers also get this flexibility that within a click of a button, there's a API call that happens, and then through the banking systems, the money gets transferred within few seconds.
Got it. Got it.
So yeah,
I think, yeah, this is super helpful, given quite a lot of examples to explain what is embedded finance. And I think it really brings out that visual representation of what
Mhm.
this product actually needs. Because I think people have been talking about it for long. There are too many
Right,
knowledge reports going on around this, but there are very few people who understand it properly. And
right,
question about pain points from customer point of view. I
right,
think
right.
that's important, and that brings me to my next question. How did you validate these pain points? Because ultimately these pain points are being faced by the customer, and Razorpay
Right,
payouts is working for a business. It's a B2B
right,
company.
right, right.
Actually reach out to customers to validate these pain points before launching the product, or did you reach out to businesses to understand what are the problems they are facing, and maybe we could have a product like this, what exactly the process was?
I think that's a great question actually. Now, if you think of it, uh, businesses always had this requirement, right? For example, now say there's a product available at a D2C company or website, and same product is available on Flipkart, right? Now, you would prefer to buy the same product from Flipkart rather than the D2C company or website. Okay. The reason you would do this is you don't know if, for example, you don't like the product, you will actually say return it. If even if you is the return process easy, is the refund process seamless or not, right? And that's a trust factor. That's a trust factor that you have on Flipkart right now, because Flipkart, you know, all these processes are sorted.
Yeah.
Okay. So now businesses have realized that if they need to, like again, they need to scale themselves, they need to provide a great customer experience to their users, right? To make sure that customers end up using their own products rather than using a third party product, which is again, maybe can be a D2C brand in this case.
Yeah.
Now, but to enable this, there are two major challenges. So again, the point is businesses realize that customers need a seamless flow. Okay. And the better experience they offer, the better it will be for them to even engage customers within their own platforms. Right now, businesses always had a need to do it, but the reason they were always not able to do it was because first of all, there's a like pretty secure infrastructure that is required to do any financial transactions, right? And second thing is financial systems are pretty regulated in nature. Now, if you think of a bank, banks, if you, for example, go to a bank and say, I want to transfer money, you would say you want to transfer, say, 10,000 to me for the first time. First time when you add my beneficiary account as a details, you can't transfer more than say 25,000 or 10,000 again, depending on the bank level. All these are the checks that the banking systems have put to make sure that you don't end up losing money. Right? And again, because the reason banks also want to protect the interest of the customers. Now, any company who wants to embed financial flows in their system, their infrastructure should be secure. Plus, they should have the right checks in place to meet the regulatory guidelines that have been been levied by the RBI or NPCI, right? And these have been the problems for the business. So there was the inherent need in the market is something that we have realized. But since these are the blockers, we thought we like since we are at the center of providing financial services, can we help solve these problems to for businesses where we are giving them a like safe and reliable platform to actually do a financial transaction?
Understood. Understood. I think that's a fair point. Actually, the problem arises from the customer point of view, but it is
Mhm.
ultimately a problem of businesses because they are
Right.
servicing
Like,
how Razorpay comes into the meeting and hence enabling payment from businesses, customers. I think it completely makes sense. I also wanted to understand more from, build perspective. How was any of these embedded finance products built?
mhm.
Like, could walk through that development journey. I think that would be perfect.
Got it. Got it. Okay, let me take one example. Okay, and then we can go through the journey of building it. Let's take an example of Secret, right? Credit again allows you to pay your credit card bills. Now, if you think of the entire flow, right? Um, your credit card payment happens through credit app now, where you are going to credit. Uh, you say that say your credit card bill is say 50,000, right? You say I want to pay 50,000 for my excess credit card, which has been say due on say 10th of June. You click a button, you say pay, you choose the amount you want to pay. Now, there's a payment gateway ka page that will open where money will be directed either from say your UPI ID, basically or through Google Pay or PhonePay or through your bank account. Now, if you think of it, money is getting deducted, and generally from any payment gateway perspective, the settlement happens on this one,
Yeah.
right? But your credit card payment is actually happening right away as soon as you click the button, right? Because now, although credit will get the amount on next day, but the money is getting transferred from credit's account to your credit card company right away within few seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are two distinct flows here. One is on the payment gateway side, where payment is getting authorized from your side, and where credit will receive the money on or either on T plus 0 or T plus 1. Then, but credit is doing another payment to your credit card company for the credit card details that you have provided.
Yeah.
Now, how credit does this? Or maybe before we jump to how credit does this, let's try to understand what matters more for the credit, right? Because it wants to provide a great experience to you, first of all, there should be very high success rate,
Yes.
right? Because even if it happens that money is directed from your payment gateway, but the credit card settlement is not happening, it's a local experience for you, right? So the success rate for the both the flows should be pretty high. Second thing is the processing time should be as less as possible,
Yes.
right? For example, as soon as you click the button, you would want the money to be transferred to your account because if you are able to see okay, my credit card will fill payment as written within few seconds, you get delighted, right? And then you will prefer to do that experience always, right? Third thing I would say again, more from a business perspective. Now, like you, there might be like millions of customers who might be using credit card platform to do their credit card payment. And if you think from the perspective that at the end of the month or at the start of the month, these payments like scale up a lot because that's the time where their credit card cycle and they want to pay the bills at towards exactly. Yeah, either their credit card cycle will be there or we get our salaries and like as soon as we get the salaries, we want to maybe pay the credit card bills, right? Now there's a now at such time there will be very high TPS that will be required. When I say TPS, it is transactions per second. Right. So again, so now there will be millions of customers hitting the pay button on credit side like within a minute, for example. Right. So the platform should be also be scalable enough or should be able to support such large requests within few seconds. Okay. So again, these are the primary say again in this particular example. Now, how do we support this? First of all, uh, the first layer for interaction will be say APIs of Razorpay, which Cred is hitting, right? Now, say Cred has got Razorpay payout APIs to do the credit card bill payment. Cred will provide your credit card details to which it wants to pay, or say token related to your credit card, which again is getting enabled by all the tokenization changes that are happening in the ecosystem. Uh, it will provide us the amount. Okay, and it will also provide us the account from which the money needs to be debited, and this account will be Cred's account. Yeah. Right. So here we give a virtual a pool account or a virtual account to Cred to from which the money can be debited and transferred to your credit card account. And this virtual account is getting topped up by Cred before the debit happens. So this you can consider more like a wallet, right? Now, first of all, how is this wallet even authorized to store real money? So these wallets are now built over actual bank accounts that are owned by Razorpay. But again, the bank accounts are provided by either of the banks, which can be say ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Yes Bank, or any of the like banks which are pretty open to enabling the fintech flows. And the no? Are they registered for different merchant you are providing services to, and in this case, it would be credit. It would be credit in this case, right? So now credit will load money to this. Razor-based system will whenever credit loads money, Razor-based system will add additional balance to the uh, credit's credit's wallet. But although the physical money will be lying in Razor-based pool account, which is again managed by say ICICI or Yes Bank. Now, uh, what to make sure that we are able to provide best success rate and best SLA, and also we are able to process transactions at the high TPS. We have partnered with multiple banks in the background, right? And again, when I say so, for example, they are tied up with Yes Bank, they tied up with ICICI. Again, there are like more banks that we have tied up with. Our system keeps on continuously checking which bank is performing the best right now, right? And again, this happens through test transactions. Now, whenever we know that, say for example, ICICI is performing the best right now, we will send a request to ICICI uh, to process the transaction, right? And when we send a request to ICICI, the money will get debited from the pool account of Razorpay and will be transferred to the credit card company's account. Okay. Now, what is say ICICI is although ICICI is performing the best, but their TPS max TPS supported by ICICI is already exceeded. In this case, system will so there's an automated routing that happens, which takes care of which bank account to choose by transferring money. Right? Okay. Now, in this case, for example, say ICICI TPS is already exhausted, then the request will get processed 2 years back automatically. And all this happens within like all this calculation, all this very happens within like quick fraction of seconds, right? Because you still want your transaction to be processed within 10 seconds, for example. Agree. So yeah. So I think probably I answered your question, I think. No, I think this is very detailed because we have never looked at such minute
parts of how these transactions are happening. Like, as you mentioned, from embedded finance perspective, we want the payment or funds faster, we want our salaries. But we never think about what goes at the back end to make sure that you receive it in an instantaneous or real-time fashion. And at the same time, keeping the success rates also pretty good. I think this is super helpful. I also wanted to understand, when you launched Razorpay payouts, what were some
Mm.
of the metrics that were tracked to make sure, like whether the product is successful or not, or have we achieved the product market fit?
Right. Got it. I think here, obviously, the first metric for us is to see how deeply is the product getting used, right? So when we first launched in the market, we the way okay, let me take a step back here, right? Why did we even choose to launch payouts, right?
Yeah.
What is the market opportunity that we saw? So Razorpay was already helping businesses serve the payment the payments flow, which is getting served by payment gateway.
Yeah.
Now, any company, if you look in the market, also with Payne also has a payout flow. For example, companies like Flipkart or any e-commerce company might be collecting money from their customers and might be paying out to the seller side vendors. Gaming merchants again coming from like some few thousands of customers and might be paying out the reward money to few customers. Lending has a thoda sa different flow where in lending initially the payout happens and then money gets collected as a the payment from the companies. So every company with pay flow also has a payout flow, and as companies are like again many digital first companies are coming into the market. To take an example, say Echo or Digit. So insurance always used to be a pretty traditional category, but now this is also getting revolutionized by the new age digital companies, where like initially insurance claims used to take like 40-45 days. I still remember my bike insurance where I got hit by a truck and I took claim insurance for my bike. It took me like 40 to 45 days to get the money to my account. Now, if you think from Echo or Digit perspective, like as soon as you provide the details, ki, okay, this has been the damage, you provide the bill, like within a day or two, you will get the insurance claim in your account. All this is happening because of the new digital age companies,
Got it.
right? Uh, so we realized that there's an inherent payout requirement that exists in the market, but we didn't know where to start, right? So the way we started is we spoke with a lot of five companies. We tried to check with them if this is something that we built, what will be the use of these, or first of all, how will you end up using these products? Okay. We got a validation from initial five companies by the way, by the initial pitch that we have done, and based on the initial validation that we got from the market, we just launched for these five companies, right? Because the initial idea was to actually get into the market and try to figure out whatever we are building, uh, does it does it even like scale or not? Is it even solving the problems for the merchant?
This was
Right.
go-to-market strategy. Got it.
This is not or I would more than go to market. This was the like this was the way maybe we approached even making our MVP because we had not even built the product that time. We just pitched to the Russians and we asked them, this is something we are building. Do you even find value in this? Right. We built a very simple product. Initially launched with one customer in the market. We realized like over a month what are the kind of issues that we face. What are the kind of so we were very very of the since customers will not directly escalate to us, but customers will directly escalate to the business, right? We initially had a very deep tie up with business where all the customer escalations that we are getting, we were trying to go through them as well because we wanted to be more in touch. So, particularly if you think about Razorpay, although we are helping business, but we are helping businesses solve the needs of their customers. So, if there's an issue that the customers are facing, we are responsible for that as well in certain way. So we try to go through all the queries that customers were facing, and then we try to again make the changes in our product in the way that the major customer issues are resolved. Once we were pretty confident that okay the now we the system that we have provided we are providing is pretty robust in nature. We initially expanded to uh, to more customers in the same vertical because for example, say take gaming as a vertical, lighting as a vertical. We initially expanded the same vertical because we knew that all the customer problems or the customer expectations will be similar in the similar vertical.
Standard.
Once we once we realized that okay, we are getting a good market fit, obviously then it was not more about getting depth into a certain vertical, but to actually make evolve it more like a platform that can solve the needs for all the verticals. Uh, Here we try to take a bit longer term approach, even the way we have decided our APIs to keep it more flexible, where we now try to take inputs from all the verticals and try to make our APIs in a way that any uh, customizable needs that are required by any vertical, we should be able to cater to them,
Understood.
right? So this is the approach that we took while we were trying to go broad. Uh, it took a while for us to realize to that how should we build our systems in a way that or that it is more like a platform in nature, which can be used by any of the verticals, or it is customizable to suit to the needs of each and every vertical. Uh, that's where that's where the first breakthrough happened where like we then decided to get into like a bunch of verticals that we have chosen initially. We can try to get deeper into them by getting onboarding one customer. Now for any B2B product, uh, what you will see is once you if you are able to solve problem for a certain vertical pretty well, uh, you will get the default pull in the market because those are the type of problems that every company face. So for us, and again, the lifetime value for a customer in any B2B product is pretty high, or the retention rate is pretty high, unless we do something which like pretty badly hurts their customer experience,
Good.
right?
Good.
Uh, so once we started realizing, okay, these are the few verticals where we have like pretty good opportunity, we tried going deeper into them through again initially through our sales team because obviously uh, they al- although it was pretty human in nature on how we do the acquisition, but since the lifetime value of the customer relation it is pretty high, it still used to make a lot of business sense for us, right?
Okay.
Uh, so now again, once we started doing that, we started looking at the MTUs or the monthly transacting users that we have from each vertical and the kind of churns we have from each vertical. Because if the customers are churning, so again churning maybe we de- we have defined our metrics in two ways that there's a degradation or there's a like full churn. Because if we see that there's a degradation in the usage of the customer, it's a signal for us that we need to fix something,
Makes sense.
right? So and those are the points that we can act right away because we can't act after the customer has churned.
Sure. Agree.
Again, once we could see, okay, there's a degradation, we used to like pretty deeply reach out to the companies directly in the initial phase and try to understand from them what are the problems that they are facing. Now, again, through a focus group activity, we used to try to solve for those problems, right?
Oh.
But and since we started with clear verticals in this term, it gave us enough time, I would say, to actually focus on deeply solving a problem for the vertical, right? Because if we would have tried to go broader in this term, we would have not got enough time because we would then have been getting
Okay.
by
He has a little different use case. I can
right.
completely understand. Yeah.
So again, so this is what another thing we used to measure, like if there's a degradation, if there's a churn. Uh, Third thing we used to measure is again, what is the merchant NPS and what are the kind of support issues that we get from the merchants because uh, for us to provide a very seamless product, it is really important that the businesses are not getting any support issues from their customers. And generally, how it happens is if businesses get a support request from their customer, it will end up populating to us directly.
Individual.
For example, say if you have say bought product on certain D2C website, uh, you pay through payment gateway, the money got debited, but the order still did not get processed. You will raise a request on the D2C website and they will then right away reach out to us, right? So the support experience is pretty important in this case because to gauge if the product is working well or not, right?
Got it.
So this is another thing that we measure to, so that we are more in touch with what the customers are facing or the customers are feeling. So support tickets was a like pretty uh, big metric for us. Now from a system perspective, the three major metrics were like success rate, SLA, the processing time, and your TPS, the scale at which customers are hitting the system. Yeah.
Got it. No, I think this is a very different perspective because generally when we speak about success metrics, I think people just talk about what's happening on their system, but you try to describe it into, very actually you've clubbed it into different buckets, from a system point of view, then from supports point of view, and then from, what problems the businesses are facing and how did you just stick to one vertical before expanding. So this gives a lot of, understanding in terms of how it's not just tracking those two, three fancy midgets. It's a much bigger game than that. And you need to be very careful as to how you launch your product into the market.
Right. Right. Right.
This is, I think, super insightful. And as we end the podcast, I just had one question for you. What advice do you have for the aspiring or current product managers? Any one advice that you would like to give?
Well, I think the only advice I would give to product managers is always keep learning. Like I think because one thing that I realized is the ecosystem keeps on evolving, right? So the more you believe in learning, the more you can open you will be to the new ideas, right? Whereas the whatever SPMs that we build, we should be building from a perspective like where we are looking forward 5 years from now, because and if we have that we can only have that perspective where we know where the market is going, where the market is evolving, or what the market trends are. So you should always be open to new ideas. You should always be believe in learning from your peers, learning from what you read, learning from uh, again. I think like the interactions, what is basically the news articles that you get. So yeah.
Understood. Understood. I think, yeah, that's a very valid point. If you have to stay at the top of your game, you have to stay updated. You need to know what's coming so that you can, develop, build accordingly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sagar. This was, I think, a great description of embedded finance and the product, how it was built, how did you launch it, and finally this super important advice for product managers. Thanks for being a guest on this one. Thanks a lot.
Take care, great.